Which one? Yeah, but this one I'm boiling it, which I've done. I'll make it on meat. And this one, later on I will take, or I'll just bring the tray and just do it here.
Hello, microphone test. 1, 2.
Hello, EALA, can you hear us? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. It is just test.
Okay.
Prayer.
Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness has appointed the officers of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society, good of all human lives upon it, and the just government of its people. We beseech you to look with your abundant favor upon us, your servants, whom you have entrusted with the performance of such important trust in this community. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our attention and the deliberation in so just and faithful a manner, as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this region and of those whose interest you have committed to us. Amen.
Item number 1 on the order paper, communication from the chair.
Good afternoon, honorable members. I think, or I suggested that we, just like yesterday, today again, we shall adjourn early enough to go for practice. That's one. 2, before the clerk goes into the order paper, you remember the motion that was to be introduced by Honorable Kimbisa yesterday. He wasn't there. And the interruption we did on the report by Honorable Kalonzo. So ordinarily, we should pick on the I want to ask, you know what the motion by Honorable Kibisa is about? You all have an idea about it. Wanted to ask whether we can deal with it first or we deal with it at the end. We finish the committee report first? That's fine, because I didn't want, given the nature of the suggested motion, I didn't want to be seen like I'm pushing it further. So, clerk, we can continue.
Item number 2 on the order papers.
Chairperson, Committee on CTI.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the report of the Joint Committee on Communication, Trade and Investment and Agriculture, Tourism and the Natural Resources on an oversight activity to assess the threat to donkeys due to relentless demand for their skin and its impact on the donkeys dependent community in the East Africa community. I beg to lay, sorry.
I'm sure the answer do not have captured the difference.
Item number 3 on the order paper, report of the Committee on Accounts on the progress made in the construction of Lake Victoria Basin Commission headquarters and the RFMV Jumia. By way of motion, resumption of debate interrupted on Wednesday, 24th November 2021.
Yes, this is the debate you interrupted yesterday. So have we received a written communication from the chair Committee on Accounts, Honorable Kennedy Kalonzo. He has a reason not to be here today. He's attending another activity, and he has delegated Honorable Susan Nakauchi, right? So you will play that role of the chair of the committee. I had picked the speaking order. Honorable Maria Musi was to follow, and she's not around, so I can pick another one now. Debate is open. The motion before the House is the report of the Committee on Accounts on the progress made in the construction of Lake Victoria Basin Commission headquarters and the RV Jumuiya to be adopted. Debate is open. Honorable Dr. Ann Ito, Honorable Marie Claire. So Honorable Dr. Anne first, then Honorable Marie Claire.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the debate on the report on the Lake Victoria Basin. I rise to support the report, and I would want to thank the chair and the members of that committee for a very informative report. Right Honorable Speaker, if you may allow me, I think I've seen reports to this House, many of them, but I have never been so annoyed with the outcome of a report as I am with this report. Basically, Lake Victoria Basin is a very important commission, and it has a lot of, the mandate is very broad, and it does, when it works well, the benefits that the East African community stands to reap is a lot. And you can also see that from this report, Kenya alone has already contributed $500,000 for the land. And Kenya has continued to offer its own building, 2 floors, for the Lake Victoria Basin to function. On our part as EAC, already some money has been invested, 1.5 million, to start phase 1. And we are waiting for phase 2 to be disbursed, which I hope will happen. But what really I find difficult to believe is the fact that this important institution of EAC is understaffed and then under-resourced. And it has a lot of implications on the functioning of these institutions, as if it doesn't matter. I think this is a very serious case. I hope that the Council of Ministers would take this seriously and begin to address it right away. The second area of my concern is really, I don't know whether this is negligence, because I don't believe it's an issue of competence. How can a boat, a vessel, which is an important tool for the functioning of the Lake Victoria Basin Commission, sit idle for 10 years and nobody does anything about it? I find it very, very difficult to believe. It actually means that what the commission is intended to do, it has not been able to do for 10 years. And along that side, we continue to pay, or at least EAC continues to pay the salary of 2 people for 8 years without doing anything. I find this very hard to believe. Those are my real concerns. I believe that maybe if EALA didn't go around trying to do auditing or oversight, maybe this anomaly would have never been brought to light. My prayer is that now that this issue has been brought to light, instead of continuing to lose money, instead of continuing to allow a very useful vessel to sit another year, that EAC will find money to repair this boat, to get the boat registered and put it back into the water so that it can do what it was intended to. Right, Honorable Speaker, my real concern is how such serious issues past has been going on for 10 years without anybody noticing or doing anything about it. I hope this will change. I beg to stop here on Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Ann. Honorable Marie-Claire.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I start by congratulating Mr. James Magade Ikuya to be nominated member of EALA, even if he is not allowed. It will be in the Hansard. And Mr. Speaker, I keep thinking if there is no need for LBVC to own another vessel. Mr. Speaker, I am saying that because, first of all, the LBVC Jumuiya is 31 old. The cost of maintaining a 31 old boat may increase over time. When we have seen that even to take it in dry docking for repairing is a cost. Mr. Speaker, I think also that LBVC need a modern boat that could help in research and also generate income. Mr. Speaker, I think it's high time that the management of LBVC to plan and seek for a potential donors. Mr. Speaker, coming back to construction of the LBVC headquarters, I would like to raise here an environmental issue. Mr. Speaker, as you can see in the annex of this report, the project to build a complex ultramodern must take into consideration the environmental aspect. Mr. Speaker, when we were in LBVC, when we were conducting our activity, we saw a pile of wood that they use as support to build the headquarters of LBVC. We could imagine how much wood will be cut during the project of construction LBVC headquarters. Mr. Speaker, I urge the builders of headquarters to use metal brackets instead of using wooden brackets to avoid negative impact on environment. I submit and support the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Marie-Claire. Honorable Maria Musa, I called you when you are not around. Are you still willing to debate this? Okay, proceed. Then Honorable Engineer Mnya will follow, and the Honorable Francois.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. First and foremost, I also want to congratulate the new ex-official member, even though he's not here, and welcome him to the Assembly. Mine actually was a question, almost. I'm not sure if the chair will be able to answer it substantially. Otherwise, we may come to ask a substantial question to the ministers or council of ministers. It's regarding the funding of the vessels. The report read that the funding of the vessels to repair was always denied. So I wanted to know from the chair in details if they ask why the funding were denied. And also why the vessel is not working, but the officers were paid for almost 10 years, because we are always saying we want to save money, but if there is somewhere someone is just been paid salary, but nothing is happening, I don't think in the side of Secretariat, that is a good thing. It's the same thing that has been happening in Kiswahili Commission, where just the commission is established, stayed for more than 4 years without no staff to do much work. So maybe chair will come and substantiate. Otherwise, we may bring a question to the Council of Ministers as in the parliamentary question slot. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, but I support the report.
Thank you, Honorable Mariam. Engineer Mnya, Honorable Engineer Mnya.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to add my voice in this report. First of all, Mr. Speaker, sir, I really commend your plans when you planned for this oversight activities. There are a lot of things to observe, and the reality actually we can find in the site. The reports we are reading here, the audit reports we are having, and all other things, actually sometimes the situation is different from the reality. As my colleague has articulated that, for example, in this MV Jumuiya, what has been said and the reality is really different. This vessel, it really is a very useful vessel for research and can be used in different ways. And actually, it was not the cost which was stipulated in the report for maintenance or for maintaining this report in order to run is different from the reality. For example, what was wrong in this vessel? The doors, the wooden doors to be repaired, and the value of the cost it was stipulated is different. And really, we have to thank the engineer and the captain of this MV Jumuiya to keep that, to maintain that when we visited this boat, it was still in the running operation. The engines were a very good engine. Everything was working, but the small maintenance and the registration of the certificate according to Maritime Act, that was the only thing missing. Mr. Speaker, sir, really, we as members, we normally have this oversight. If it happened that the ministers, they can have oversight, they will not reject to raise funds for these boards or for this headquarters for quite a long time. It is 14 years, for instance, this headquarters and what has been done. And even if when we visited that the completion, the first phase to be completed in January 2022 is not realistic. We found the people working hard, but they are realistic that it will be, the first phase will be completed in January. It is not realistic. So I really appreciate and I really commend Mr. Speaker, and this, your August House should continue really to follow up things in oversight activity is really very, very useful, and we can find a lot of things, and we can recommend to your house what is the reality, the fact of the reality, not only to believe on the papers, which really sometimes the life is different from the reality. From this short input, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much, and please continue with the oversight activity, and things can move through this oversight activity because they cannot lie anything when we really visit and explain the situation in detail. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Engineer Mnya. Honorable Francoise, then Honorable Fatuma Ibrahim, Honorable Thomas Dute, Honorable Ambassador Fatuma.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the floor. I rise to support the report of the Committee on Accounts. It's a good report. It's really informing us on some issues we were not aware of. Mr. Speaker, I have read through the report, and I would like to join the committee in supporting page 20, point 5.3, integration of the Republic of South Sudan into LVBC activities and programs. And as I talk of this integration, I also would like to remind or to urge, to ask this assembly to urge the Council of Ministers to make sure Article 6 of the treaty is well implemented. And this article, if I go to Article 6E, I'm talking of equitable distribution of benefits of this community. Hence, I join my hands to support this committee that has observed that the protocol establishing LVBC did not include the Republic of South Sudan because the Republic of South Sudan is outside the Lake Victoria Basin. So I think this is not a tangible reason to exclude a partner state, a country that is part of the community. If South Sudan is willing to have benefit from LVBC, I think it's right time to consider amendment of the protocol. Lastly, we passed the bill, LVBC bill. If this clause was not included, I urge this assembly to make sure it's amended immediately so that South Sudan as a republic can be accommodated as well as other partners that are yet to join, like DRC, if it is not within the vicinity of LVBC Basin. Mr. Speaker, I also have observed another great thing. I would like to commend the committee for the work well done. The last annex of the report are just photos, of course, with the signatures. So I appreciate having photos attached as illustrations because it's not part of our traditions. We have been doing reports, submitting without photos, and I found this good practice to emulate and to imitate as committees because photos talks, and when we refer to what happened and we can see members at the field, it's very good really report, and we would emulate from this committee as far as illustrations are concerned. Mr. Speaker, I beg to support the report.
Thank you, Honorable Francois. Honorable Fatuma Ibrahim.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, in allowing me to contribute to this report. First and foremost, I want to appreciate the members and the chairman of the Accounts Committee in presenting to the House a very detailed report, particularly focusing on the Lake Victoria Basin Commission. Honorable Speaker, when you go through the report, of course, there are achievements done by the Lake Basin Commission, Lake Victoria Basin Commission at their level. But Chair, Honorable Speaker, it's also saddening of the failures of the decision makers, particularly our council members, and in that effect, also the hierarchy of decision making. Honorable Speaker, I find it very disturbing about the status of the research puzzle, Jumia. Chair, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the report critically, I think this puzzle has been lying idle from the last part of the second EALA, the third EALA, and now. It's 10 years. We haven't finished 10 years ourselves. So I think the problem began in the last lap of the second EALA. Because if you look at the number of years, this item has been lying without repairs. And the Chair, Honorable Speaker, I think when you look at the report, page 11 of the committee on the functioning status of the RV Jumia, the report it gave is that the vessel is in good status. Actually, they say it is impressive and is still in good shape, taking into consideration the year it was manufactured. Honorable Speaker, it says all the parts are new. They have been replaced because there is money allocated for that purpose. Honorable Speaker, but the vessel is still lying for 10 years, denying the citizens of East Africa not to benefit from this, just for a small amount of repair. And Honorable Speaker, if you look at the analysis on that page before the committee observation, upon effecting reallocation, the management engaged the Dar es Salaam Maritime Institute to carry out the assessment and cost benefit analysis of the RV Junior at a cost of 10,000. The cost benefit analysis of repair of the parcel commenced on that. But Honorable Speaker, when you see there is a neglect in terms of providing resources to this crucial parcel, and sometimes it says that it's not considered as a waterway, although the report clearly says, because when it was allocated money, the money was reduced even further. Instead of 5,500 to commence the work, it was reduced again to 2,600. I think we have not appreciated as East Africans, especially the organs that allocate resources, the importance of this person. Honorable Speaker, I don't know how, as a house, other than the urging the ministers in our usual manner, how we can make a serious demand on the ministers to take this as a crucial matter for East Africa. Honorable Speaker, the other glaring issue is payment for money for engineers. The engineer's certificate has expired, which means they are salary, but their certificate is not paid for. And the people who are supposed to pay is our institution, East Africa Secretariat, and they have been out of service for a while. Honorable Speaker, sometimes it gives a very disturbing feelings that who takes responsibility for such glaring failures? Because the responsibility of such a mandate falls under the attorney. So I don't know whether we will just assume that is the usual report and keep on urging, but what kind of drastic action do we need to pass in this house other than the usual rhetoric kind of urging ministers of council to take attention on this? Honorable Speaker, I think we need to have some drastic proposals that will stop this wastage of resources of this important agenda, both the certificates for the captains and the repair of the parcel. Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, I am really worried as a community and a stakeholder, not as a member of EALA, but as a citizen of this country, to witness such glaring failures on the part of our decision makers. Honorable Speaker, I think we need to have drastic actions and proposals and explore the most effective way of securing, a very proactive decision that restore this RV Jumia parcel so that citizen. The other thing I want to talk about is the accidents that the maritime accident that happens along the lake. Honorable Speaker, one time we went to visit Lake Victoria as the Committee of Agriculture, and the report we got, although it's not here, it's number of figures, but one time we were told that 5,000 citizens of East Africa died as an accident along the Lake Victoria. I think that's not a small number for you to lose a human life. Human life is important, but I thought that is a huge number of deaths, and deaths that could have been prevented, could have stopped, because we don't have the appropriate, mechanism to stop. the Honorable Speaker, if you look at page 18, it keeps on increasing the deaths. The last paragraph on page 18 says 2011, 145. And this a human life. Is not selling potatoes or losing potatoes in the lake. Is human life. 9,900 people lost in the ferry MP Bukoba. Honorable Speaker, if you do a very timely statistic, and I think the dates, these are just the reported. Can you imagine the local operators who cause accident along the river, along the lake, and the normal accidents that are not monitored or are not documented? They can be even more than these figures presented here. But we can do something about it. Honorable Speaker, as per the proposal of the committee is on page 19, the committee knows that such accident could be avoided or reduced. I think it's not even to reduce it, it's to eliminate it. Because this is human life, is not losing some sacks of rice transported along the lake. Safety education is required, awareness campaigns were enhanced along the transportation sector. Honorable Speaker, there are failures on the part of our leadership. Because sometimes it's assumed that this is a normal death or accident. These are not normal deaths or accident. It can be prevented, as said, and it can be stopped because of putting the necessary safety measures so that our people don't die. Honorable Speaker, this is not a normal report. This is a very sad report. Maybe we should look at ways of securing some quick action from the council members instead of the usual recommendation. I know for sure our role as an EALA is limited to recommendation, but we need to explore other options of triggering some actions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Fatuma Ibrahim. Honorable Duke Thomas.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity also to contribute. First of all, I would want also to add my voice in congratulating our ex-official from the Republic of Uganda. Honorable Speaker, so many things have been said by my colleague who have really spoke before me. But I rise to highlight some of the immediate things which we should do. The issue of the vessel to go to the dry dock is important indeed. And with the delayment, the money is adding. And again, the dry dock may be occupied by other vessels if we don't act now. So I rise, if this one has to be taken care of by paying the needed resources so that we have the vessel at the dock. Number two is the importance of the headquarters of the commission. I'm also urging the council to immediately release the remaining amount resources for the completion of the headquarters. This is very important because now we conducted an assessment, an oversight assessment. The whole information are collected and are before us. So what remains is the implementation. And it has to be immediate because of the importance of the finishing the headquarters and have the vessel to discharge its work. Again, if you see the delayment have really put us into so many problems, because the vessel need the license, the operators also need the document to be renewed. Any delayment, any further delayment, it is dragging us into so many problems. So I would want to add my voice, because we have been bringing reports which are very precisely developed and enriched with so many information. But when it comes to implementation stage, is an issue to do with the council. We don't know what to do, because I also would want, if there has to be a mechanism of how to put in place so that the council comply with its work, because these are the decision makers, they are the one implementing all what we are doing. So I raise, because the report is very clear. My final appeal is that we pass this report and we do a serious follow-up for the implementation of all what we are collecting in terms of information for the welfare of this community. Finally, I have to declare that I'm a member of this committee and I was a part of this. It wasn't easy in collecting this information, because we were having 3 days to conduct the oversight, and it took us we made a very tough decision in coming from Kisumu to Mwanza. It was not, it took us 16 hours two-way, and we have to travel. Finally, I support the report, and my appeal is that we pass this report. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dut. Honorable Ambassador Fatuma.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also rise to support the report and also contribute to the debate. At the outset, I would like to thank the Committee of Accounts for a very strategic activity that they chose, an activity that really promotes accountability, which is at the core of the mandate of EALA, our oversight mandate. Yesterday, listening to what both the chair and Honorable Susan was telling us, it was really unbelievable that the entire region for 10 years, we are unable to provide money to maintain RV Jumuiya, well knowing that this is not a mere boat, but it's a boat that is also supporting the research within Lake Victoria, and the only boat that is doing such a duty in the entire community. But we are able to pay salaries for almost 10 years. And I was looking at simple calculation. If you are paying close to $60,000 US per year, so it means if you would save salaries for 1.5 years, you'd be able to provide the $90,000 US that are needed to fix the boat, and then the boat can do its work. And you are even informed that it's not only in the area of research, but if it is operational, it can also generate income for the community. And therefore, if the council and the Lake Victoria Basin Secretariat would see, they would even come up with a strategy on how this board can contribute to sustainable financing of its activities, such that you don't even need to come to the community to request for this money, but even contribute to the activities of Lake Victoria Basin. So really, for me, I find it as a shame to the community that we are discussing this matter. And I was asking myself, had the EALA not gone there then would be told that probably the boat is no longer there, or it cannot even be functional, or it could even be whatever would happen to that boat. But it's also another eye opener.
Or we wouldn't have known that it even exists.
We wouldn't know. Yes. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. So really, and that shows that the importance of EALA and the need really to, if possible, to increase the money for this important institution to do its work rather than thinking of trimming it. Because for me, I don't even see, I don't know, but in my view, I think EALA 4 has done its best, especially in the area of accountability. So assuming that this committee had at least 7 days, they would have done wonders. But traveling for 16 hours, I imagine sleepless nights, but despite that, they've been able to produce this very important report that opens our eyes that there is a serious problem. So really, I want to urge the council, one, to address this problem, because I don't think we lack 90,000. But secondly, the issue also of funding Lake Victoria Basin, the remaining $219 million, $2.19 million. Because again, Lake Victoria Basin is one of our key institutions. If you look at the Lake Victoria itself and the people of our community that depend on Lake Victoria, the other time I think there was statistics around 16 million of livelihoods. You haven't talked about transportation on Lake Victoria, haven't talked about hydropower and the importance of this lake and the potential to contribute to the revenues of our economies. And we have here an institution called Lake Victoria Basin that oversees and coordinates the activities around the lake. It doesn't have a house where an office, a decent office where it can do its work for so many years. We've been given a plot by the Republic of Kenya and want to thank Kenya for its generosity. But again, for so many years, we cannot construct this building, and we're giving out money in phases that cannot help this very important institution finalize its work, because it's the face of the community. So I really want to urge the council that to try and locate this money, take it as a priority, so that at least next year we should be sitting here celebrating that this house is completed, and we have Lake Victoria Basin housed. So I really wanted to urge the council really that these issues of accountability, effectiveness of the community should be looked into. I know the will is there. I know it takes you a meeting. I hope the fact that you've raised it before the upcoming council meeting probably can attract the attention of the council, so that next week we can hear that this money for construction is approved and also MV is fixed. So with that, I want also to say that I support the report, and thanks so much the committee for the choice of activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ambassador Fatuma. Honorable Dr. Makame.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to add my voice to this important report of the Committee on Accounts. At the outset, allow me to commend the chairperson and members of the committee and the staff who facilitated the committee to do the work. And they came out with this important report that is informing your house that there are some issues that need to be scrutinized further. Mr. Speaker, definitely you can see here now that the oversight function has been done, and justice has been done to the oversight function. Now, specifically, I'd like to draw my attention to the report and request members to go on page 12 of the report. And on page 12, there are committee recommendations. 1, urgently avail funding to undertake repairs of RV Jumia USD 81,825. There, you see on the second paragraph, I'd like to thank Honorable Mnya. He just pointed this out, that the committee was informed that the cost-benefit analysis carried out by the Dar es Salaam Maritime Institute established the cost of repairs, maintenance, and dry docking of RV Jumuiya estimated at 93,305. And the Lake Victoria Basin Commission does not have a budget line for this. So there's a technical hitch relating to budgeting that that money cannot be allocated. But it has taken 10 years. That vessel is 10 years. Now, if that budget has not been allocated for the first year, and that budget line, why didn't they create it for 9 years? The second year, then the vessel is packed. But is it just because of the budget line not being existent? So that is a bit of a problem, and it calls for the action from the council. Elsewhere, Mr. Speaker, I also observed issues of maybe language, report language. If you look at the expiration of certificates, and it says certificates seaworthiness classifies on item 2 there. So I'd really like the committee to look at it, and specifically the clerk of the committee. Probably that issue they will make amendment to that. And Mr. Speaker, the issue again about the staff of the marine vessel who are manning that vessel, they have not been retrained. They need to take retraining. It's a regulatory requirement, like the way the accountants do. Accountants must take a program, a training in order to be fit in the field. Pilots also must take some kind of training, and these people in the marine vessels also need to do some kind of training to upgrade and to make their certificates valid and alive. Now, it's 5 years now since those the validity of those the certificates of those employees expired, and no funds have been availed to facilitate their training. And this would require them to train for 18 months. It is stated in the report. Now, that is not how we are managing our affairs. And it seems there's a problem in the issue of management of the vessel and the staff.
I know. You're scared of port?
I observed that there's in the first page we are having acronyms and abbreviations, but there are some acronyms and abbreviations that have not been provided for. For example, there's a STCW on page 13, item B in the committee's recommendations. So there's a STCW, and that is not provided in the list of abbreviations. And I think the clerk should ensure that when they're reading the report, they have to capture all the abbreviations, and they're captured and they're reflected in the list of acronyms. Mr. Speaker, this report really needs us to ask us some questions. We have to ask ourselves some questions as a house, and we have to pose questions to the council. 14 years, it is written in this report, 14 years, the council committed to construct the Lake Victoria Basin Commission headquarters. And that headquarters has not been constructed. And now it is 10 years. This vessel has has not been functional. It needs some docking services and it's not functioning. And the council, because the issue here is the council has to ensure that everything is operational. So it makes us say that, Mr. Speaker, in 2019, of 5th December, this House resolved through a motion and called upon the council to submit regular reports to the House on implementation of various stages of the EAC integration and various projects and programs of the EAC. The council agreed to do that in this House, that they will do that, but unfortunately, maybe because of the COVID, we could not follow up. And up until now, nothing has been done to reflect that. But when we are seeing issues of implementation of projects, programs, of operations that are making our integration speed to somehow slow or to move off course, of course, we have to ask the council that we have to get more interaction with them, and we have to have that report regularly. Mr. Speaker, my colleague who just spoke before me, Her Excellency Ambassador Ndagiza, pointed out that, it's very sad that you hear attempts of, I wouldn't call them people wishing well for the community. They are not the people who are not wishing well for our community, trying to come with proposals of curtailing the operations of this assembly. They're saying that numbers of the members of the assembly should be reduced. Now, Mr. Speaker, honestly, that is very, very unwise. It is unprofessional, it is immature. And when we are advancing, we are moving forward, we are saying we are integrating, we are having an assembly that is, the most they could do is they should have proposed increased operations of the assembly, maybe even increase the numbers of the assembly, rather than trying to say that operations of the assembly should be curtailed as a way of cost saving. You cannot have a community that has moves around governance and accountability without oversight and representation and legislation. Mr. Speaker, elsewhere, also my colleague Honorable Mnya was whispering to me that we should come with a strong proposal regarding the functions of the council. We are not saying that they're not doing their work, they're doing their work, but what we are saying is they're having a lot to chew on the plate. The council has to deal with national issues, partner state issues, and also have to deal with community issues. And at times, these issues cannibalize each other. Mr. Speaker, probably we could propose to the council so that they may make a suggestion to the summit that we have a special ministers who are specially dedicated to serve the community only. Because that way they will have special and dedicated focus only to the EAC, rather than now when national interests are in conflict with the EAC interests, then we are finding them at a position where they feel maybe compromised and I mean, they are human beings, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, having said that, before I conclude, I just wish to comment that we revisit the motion that was tabled on 5th of December 2019, and that should be referred back again to the council so that the council tables regular reports on implementation of the EAC integration projects and programs, so that we can ask, and that way we are hopeful that the ministries of EAC in partner states and other ministries will also be contributing towards that report, and the integration will be moving at a faster pace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Makame. Council.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to have something to say on this report of the Committee of Account on Oversight Activity to the LVBC. I am happy because as far as Burundi is concerned, the country I represent, we have a lot of stake in LVBC. And I believe every country which is a member of our community, we all of us have a stake in this project, what means that we need to support this institution. Right Honorable Speaker, there are many issues that have been raised while honorable members of parliament were discussing on this report. I wish to come back to 3 or 4 items which have raised a lot of concerns. I want, Right Honorable Speaker, to start by the main issue about the construction of LVBC headquarters. In fact, as I have said, every country which is a member of our community, we have a stake in this project. And I want to assure the House that the Council is aware of this problem. We have even had some time in our Council debating on this issue about continuing with the construction of this headquarters. But as you know, the requirement was that this report may be produced and presented. So as today you have delivered, you have presented this report, I believe once the Council receives the report, we will be able to to quickly deal with this issue, and then we are sure that this construction will continue as soon as possible. The second item is about the research vessel. Right, Honorable Speaker, it's really unfortunate to hear about this. Myself, as a member of the council, maybe it is because I'm still new, but as a member of the council, this is the first time I hear that we have a research vessel. But other members of the council, they knew about this issue. But I want to assure you that the sentiments you have, the feelings you have about this issue, we share the same feelings. We share because really it's horrible. It's not understandable. It's not understandable. And by the way, unacceptable that we continue to pay salaries of the people taking care of this vessel, and we continue contributing, but we do not see the outcome. We do not see the outcome, the product of the vessel. That's why, as you have, all of you, highlighted, we take note of this report, and myself, I will make everything I can to make the council understand about this issue. I know they know very well, but I will do whatever I can so that really your recommendations may be taken into consideration. The third issue, it has been raised yesterday about VAT. I heard that our people working in LVBC, they are still experiencing problems related to the increasing and the aging VAT refunds, which are not remitted by the revenue collecting agencies. We take note of this, but also wish to assure you that we are going to work with EAC Secretariat so that we may have a very, very close follow-up so that these refunds may be made as soon as possible. The EAC is going to help us in this operation. Otherwise, we take note of some recommendations, like I don't remember the name, but the Honorable, one of our honorables has proposed that the council might submit regular reports on implementation of community projects. In fact, I think myself that this is the way we should operate, by the way, because the EAC should always give the report on implementation of EAC projects, give the report to the council. And the council, if need be, would give then the report to the House. to the House. This is the normal functioning of the House and the executive bodies. I think this is the way we should do. So I take note of this, and I will bring this issue to the council. Otherwise, you have introduced a very important issue about reducing the number of parliaments. And yeah, I took note of the reaction, and and I will inform the council. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Ambassador Ezekiel Nivigira. If you can switch off your microphone,
Okay.
Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Council Member Ambassador Ezekiel, for the reaction on behalf of the council. Now, Honorable Susan, for a recap of the debate.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'd like to first of all thank all the members of EALA who've ably contributed towards this important motion, towards this important report of the Committee of Accounts. I'd like to thank the following members. Yours truly, Susan Makauchi, Honorable Jean-Claude, Honorable Dr. Ann Ito, Honorable Marie-Claire Ragasore, Honorable Mariam Usi, Honorable Habib Munya, Honorable Francois Umukiza, Honorable Fatuma Ibrahim, Honorable Thomas Dout, Honorable Fatuma Ndangiza, Honorable Makame Abdallah, and the Honorable Member of Council. Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, this has been a very interesting debate, and I'm glad that all members have taken interest, and so has the Council of Ministers. I'd like to first of all respond to some of the issues that my colleagues have raised, starting from Honorable Mariam Usi. She was wondering why the funding for this vessel has been denied, why it's taking us this long to find just $90,000. I would like to inform this House that initially it wasn't even 90,000. It started as 40,000. So over time, the cost keeps changing. 2 years ago, it was 81,000. And after the cost benefit analysis, it is now 93,000. So the more we delay, the higher the price. And to me, the problem has been because council has delegated the budgetary function to this F&A, that animal that doesn't really have the reality of what is happening in the community. F&A, once they come, council hands over their role to F&A. They look at the proposals from the different institutions. They just say this one, remove without double thinking why actually that bit is there. For them, all they do is rationalizing. When they're given instructions that 0% increment, they go for negative increment. And that's where the problem is. So in many cases, council does not even get to know because these people do this thing from the back. They hand over to council doesn't ask why. It just goes the way it is. So that's where our biggest problem is. And secondly, Honorable Usi was wondering why the vessel that has not been working for 10 years is paying for staff. Just during the year under review, which is 2019, the 2 staff we have there, including the captain and the engineer, were paid $59,000. This vessel is a state-of-the-art vessel. Actually, it's the youngest vessel there. It's about 30 years old. The second youngest vessel there is 75 years old. When you look at the pictures on our report, there are a number of vessels, but the second youngest was 75. The other vessels, are even one which was 90 years old. But what these staff members do, they're supposed, the way you have your vehicle, if you just park your vehicle there for even 2 months, when you go back, it won't be able to function. So they have to start the engine regularly. They have to maintain that vessel, and they have to make sure that the vessel is not vandalized. Because once they just leave it there, oh, wananchi, thugs, they will all just come and enjoy the party. It's a very attractive vessel. Actually, it's flying the flag of EAC. And when we were there, I was feeling even embarrassed. The EAC flag is flying on a non-functional vessel that has been redundant for the last 10 years. But the flag looked really beautiful on top there. It's the only one that had a flag. So there is no way we can avoid having these people there. But all that we need council to do, let's find this little money. It's very small, like Honorable Nangiza said, $93,000. That salary is actually not even salary for 2 years for those two staff. Then we get the certificates of seaworthiness, then we are good to go. Initially, when the whole saga started, there was an issue of a dry dock because Mwanza had only one dry dock. And there was MV Kalangala, which was sitting on the dry dock for 3.5 years because they're trying to get a spare part. Procurement took a long time. So there is no even if the money was there, we would not be able to get that dry dock. Then eventually there was MV Bukoba that had that nasty accident. Then it was also docked there for so many years. Eventually, they constructed 2 more dry docks in Mwanza and another dry dock in Kisumu. But now there is no money. So let's use the opportunity that now we have that dry dock to just do these repairs and get over with them. Honorable Fatuma was also wondering, other than directing council, what else should we do as an assembly? In my opinion, I would request council, any supplementary budget that is going to come before this assembly should include this vote. $93,000, we have this money in the reserve fund. Let's just dig our long arm there, that we will dig there when we have other things we consider important. Let this be among the important things. Because we cannot wait any longer. A few years ago, we purchased new engines. This thing is running as smooth as anything. In fact, we were told when MV Bukoba capsized, this vessel had capacity to rescue at least 100 people. But it's there, it doesn't have a certificate of seaworthiness, so it cannot operate. People are being rescued in canoes. Once the canoe there, since everyone is fighting for life, they all jump onto the canoe and then that thing capsizes. Yet the vessel was there and it would help our people and save lives. Honorable Makame talked of a correction on page 12 on expiration of certificates. That's very true. It should read, a certificate of seaworthiness clarifies whether a ship has passed the required tests and safety checks, among others. I also proposed an issue for revisiting the roles of council. Council, there is already a resolution, even from the council itself, for the ministers of EAC to be based in Arusha. We don't know why council members don't want to be here. And yet when we are here, council is concerned that we should be home most of the time. We should only appear 4 times in a year. Really, I don't understand what council really wants. Finally, as I wind up because of the time, please council help us push for the assent of the LVBC bill. And I would like to inform you, either way we'll need a research vessel. If we lose this one that we have, we'll have to dig into our pockets for $3 million to get a similar vessel to do the job. So this is a cheaper option. And then on the headquarters of LVBC, the structure of the headquarters is shaped like a fish, but with a partial construction, now it looks like half a fish. So how are you going to go there to commission the half of a fish when the remaining part is just having sharp iron bars facing up. It will be very embarrassing. When I would like council to give us at least a time frame within which they are going to report back on these two issues raised in the report, on the structure of LVBC, the office block, and then the MV. We want at least a time frame. It shouldn't take forever. Thank you very much. And I would like to request everyone to support the report.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I now put to the question that the report of the Committee on Accounts on the progress made in the construction of Lake Victoria Basin Commission headquarters and the RV Jumuiya be adopted. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So thank you very much to the committee and the good responses that we got from the council. But yesterday when, of course, there is no question on my part how much I have insisted that we should spend more time in oversight. Those who sit with me in the commission, you know, my feelings about it. So I'm happy that we are all beginning to realize that it is very, very important. And I hope in our future planning, we shall emphasize that, spending more time in oversight activities. And then I tried to peruse through the rules to see whether it's possible in a situation like this, when there is an overwhelming demand for a commitment, a serious commitment to be done, whether there can be a directive to the council to report back. I have seen it happen in the partner states parliaments where the speaker says we need the minister here next week, but I've never done it and I don't know whether I can do it. Okay? But I think we can ask the council not to treat this as business as usual. Yes, this vessel belongs to the community. It cost the taxpayers money. It was bought for a purpose. It's been there for 10 years idle. People who manage it have been being paid for the past 10 years. On all this situation is for lack of willingness to pay this little amount of money that is needed to have it function. Because even if you no longer need it, in the case, worst case scenario where you don't need it anymore, you can pay that $90,000 and repair it and sell it out. Yes, because the situation as it is serves no logical purpose at all. So we know there has been a lot of commitments done by the council in this house. Council goes, takes time, comes at their own time. But for this one, we demanded that in the next plenary, there must be a proper response on how this problem is going to be fixed. And why I have put it for the next plenary is because you have an opportunity to consider the supplementary budget. Put this item there, avail this money so that the vessel can be repaired and get back into its right form. And our committee of general purpose push this, make sure that this item is there. So I think that is how we can resolve it, in addition to what the House has just adopted as a recommendation. So we thank you, Honorable Minister. We see the feeling you have about it, and although you are willing to shoulder all these responsibilities, but you know, I am sure most of the ministers we have come across this problem to hear about it for the first time. But this is how it is, and we have to resolve it together. Correct? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Frankly speaking, as a member of the council, representing the council, I talked with the chair of the council, he delegated me, and always I mean what I say, always. So this means that I have taken very seriously this issue. Count on the council. We will work on it, and very soon you will get a very good answer to this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Now we are on the same page. Otherwise, thank you very much to the committee. Yesterday, when we are narrating the journey from Kisumu to Mwanza and back, it was like a movie. Yes, yeah, really, that showed the serious commitment you had to have that activity done, and we thank you for that. Now we can proceed.
Item number 4 on the order paper, motion seeking leave to the Assembly to introduce a private member's bill to amend the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Act to extend the time for conducting elections to allow national assemblies more time to conclude the national processes relating to the elections by way of a motion.
Thank you. Honorable Kimbisa has written to me delegating Honorable Fancy to handle the motion for him. Are you ready, Honorable Fancy? Okay, now you can move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I stand to move a motion seeking leave of the Assembly to introduce a bill to amend the East African Legislative Assembly Election Act to extend the time for conducting election to allow national assemblies more time to conclude the national processes relating to the election.
Seconder. Honorable Susan, Honorable Dr. Magembe, Honorable Namara, Honorable Maria Musi, Honorable Fancy, proceed.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm moving this motion under Article 48(1)A, 49(1), 50, 59(1) of the treaty and Rule 26 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assemblies. Whereas Article 1A of the treaty provide for 9 members elected by each partner state to form part of the membership of the Assembly, whereas Article 50 of the treaty requires that the 9 members to represent each partner state shall be elected by the National Assembly of the partner state. Recognizing that Section 4 of the East African Legislative Assembly Election Act 2012 requires that the National Assembly should elect the 9 members of the Assembly within 90 days before expiring date of the outgoing Assembly. Aware that there are several processes required before an election is undertaken, including call for nomination, voting by political parties and other special interest groups, nomination and related procedures relating to verification of candidates, campaigning, and finally, the preparation and conducting of the election. Further aware that some of these processes attract litigation and other challenges that result in delay in conducting election. Concerned that the 90 days provided by the Section 4, subsection 2 of the Act is not adequate for the National Assembly to complete and conclude all the processes relating to the election and submit names of the elected representatives within that time. Further concerned that because of the timeline set in Section 4, subsection 2 of the Act, there has been delay in fully constituting the Assembly, including the 4th Assembly, and thereby delaying and frustrating the work of the community, which the treaty has entrusted to the Assembly. Convinced that it is necessary the community to extend the time for conducting election for members of the Assembly from 90 days to at least 180 days to allow more time for national assemblies to complete all national processes relating to the election. Aware that under Article 59(1) of the treaty, any member may propose any motion or introduce any bill in the Assembly, recognizing that Rule 64(5) of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly requires that a private member's bill shall be introduced first by way of motion, to which shall be attached the proposed draft of the bill. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Assembly as follows. that in accordance with Article 49, Sub-Article 1, Article 50 and 59(1) of the treaty, and Rule 64(5) of the Rule of Procedure of the Assembly grants leave to the Honorable Adam Omar Kimbisa to introduce a bill to amend the East African Legislative Assembly Election Act to extend the time for conducting election to allow the National Assembly more time to conclude the national processes relating to the election. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. Do you think you needed to justify or it is self-explanatory? This is optional for you.
Right Honorable Speaker, all the justification that I have, I've been reading from the motion.
Okay, very
Yes,
good.
thank you.
Okay, honorable members, the motion before the House is that this Assembly, pursuant to the provisions of Article 59, Sub-Article 1 of the treaty and the Rule 64, Sub-Rule 5 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, do grant leave to Honorable Adam Kimbisa to introduce a private member's bill entitled the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Amendment Bill 2021. Debate is open. I continue to read the Honorable Kimbisa because he's the owner of the motion. So, Honorable, we go for those who haven't spoken first. Honorable Kennedy Mukuria, Honorable Namara, Honorable Dr. Makame, Honorable Susan, Honorable Maria Mus, Honorable Musamari. And let me say beforehand that because we agreed at the time when we needed to adjourn, and because this is a motion to grant leave, so we can really limit our debate, knowing that if we grant leave, then we shall have more time to speak our mind. Is that clear? Please don't exhaust your points. You must have the balance of what you will need in the future, just in case. All right.
Okay, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. With your guidance, I will not exhaust what I will have said, and then I'll be able to say it later on. Right Honorable Speaker, I just want to thank Honorable Kimbisa for thinking wisely to amend the East African Elections Act 2012, taking into considerations many of the things that happen in our partner states. Right now, Honorable Speaker, the Republic of South Sudan National Legislature goes to recess from October until January. So we have it tagged within 90 days. It means the Republic of South Sudan will not have elections for EALA members until January 2023. So this might affect the operation of the Assembly. Therefore, expanding this time will allow that the elections of EALA members are conducted early enough or within the period that has been proposed as in the amendment. I therefore want to say that it's important that we extend the timing under which elections shall be carried. Equally, Article 21, Article 21(4) of the Revitalized Agreement on the Resolution of Conflict in South Sudan indicates that the transitional government that is now in power shall be dissolved 60 days to the expiry. And the 60 days exactly falls in again November. What does it mean? It means elections might not also take place. So it's my humble appeal that we support this motion to allow that elections are carried in more than 180 days or so that this assembly functions. And we're all aware what happened to us last time, where it was unnecessary that we are unable to. So, Right Honorable Speaker and members, please let's support the amendment to this bill. I thank you.
I had mentioned the list, Honorable Namal.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. On the onset, I want to thank Honorable Adam Kimbisa for the wisdom that God has bestowed on him to bring such an amendment on the floor. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I want to put clearly, because there has been a lot of speculation where some people in the media were saying that EALA is trying to extend its term of office. I want to make it clear, it is not extending our term of office, but it is reducing or increasing the number of days within which elections of members of parliament can be carried. And there's a good precedent, right, Honorable Speaker.
Maybe let me help you with the simplified language. I'm not debating, I'm simplifying the language. The alteration of the term of office can only be done by amending the treaty. And this motion is not about amending the treaty, it is about amending the Elections Act. Is it simplified or more complicated?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for that guidance. Honorable Speaker, I also wanted to inform the members that giving an example of Uganda, we had a challenge whereby the time after the elections of the president was not enough to the time of swearing in. So we had to amend the constitution to ensure that the elections are carried out in January instead of carrying them out in February, to give enough time, so that in case anyone wants to go to court, to ensure that we don't have a vacuum in terms of leadership. The challenge we have with the EALA, what happened last time, is unprecedented, Honorable Speaker, because the term of office of EALA ended in June, and there was no parliament for 6 months. There was a vacuum in legislation in ESC for 6 months. That is extremely dangerous. If it is in a government, there can be a coup, and you find that someone has taken over power. Therefore, this motion is indeed in the right forum. And you also aware the issue of litigation, people got caught, always happens. Since the first year, I think someone has always gone to court. And because of that, we always find challenges with the time when parliament starts. So I therefore support this motion with everything I have, and request the members that we grant leave to Honorable Adam Kimbisa. Thank you.
I like that way of debating briefly, precisely, then we proceed. So, Honorable Dr. Makam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Like my brother from another mother, Honorable Namara, I'd like to thank from the outset the wisdom of Honorable Kimbisa to bring this motion. It is actually, we say it is. It was supposed to come here since last year or the year before last year, because it is timely and it is something which we really need to address to. We don't need to have a vacuum where the assembly is missing in action. We experienced that in 2017, and Mr. Speaker, this extending the time for elections also would provide flexibility to the national parliaments so that they can slot in the time when they can conduct the elections in accordance with their convenience and after addressing the internal issue. So, Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't like to speak much because we have time, we have to adjourn soon, but just to reiterate that I strongly support this motion, and I beg members to strongly also support the motion and clap with the hands and legs also to endorse this, so that we give Honorable Mr. Kimbisa the leave to go and bring the bill, and if possible with the leave of Right Honorable Speaker, because it's only one item that is being proposed to be amended in the act. Then if Mr. Speaker would indulge Honorable Kimbisa, because it's just one item, just 3 words to be replaced. Then that if that can be brought in next week, we can also dispense it and become Mr. Speaker, I beg to move. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Makame. Honorable Susan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank my colleague, Honorable Kimbisa, for this motion. Actually, it's indeed true, it should have come much earlier because we've all been affected by the provision of Section 4 of the EALA Elections Act. Right Honorable Speaker, always with any kind of law, there is always an issue of interpretation. it has become clear that every parliament interprets Section 4 differently. There are some parliaments that conduct the elections much earlier than the 90 days before the expiry of term. And there are other parliaments that conduct the elections a week before the expiry of the term. And then there are those parliaments that conduct elections after expiry of the term. We've all lived the fact that there was a time when the assembly was not able to perform the treaty functions, which are provided for under Article 49 of the treaty. The community had a stalemate. Honorable Speaker, we've had different examples. In summary, I remember one time before I was elected into EALA 3 in 2012, just a month to elections, there was a court case where some members of the opposition from Uganda went to the East African Court of Justice, and they were seeking an injunction to hold the elections of members of EALA in Uganda, in the Parliament of Uganda. And for that reason, there was a delay of another 1 month. In fact, when we were eventually elected, 2 days later, we had to come to Arusha for swearing in. And already there's been a lot of tension. Then for fourth EALA, it was even worse. We had to lose 6 full months because a given partner state still had some issues. So if we increase this time frame, I think it will help partner states to prepare themselves. If there are court cases, it will help us to have time for courts to handle such matters. I remember even South Sudan had a similar occurrence. So this request for Honorable Kimbisa should be given the urgency it deserves. I beg to support.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Honorable. Honorable Mariam.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm also standing to support the motion from Honorable Alhaji Omar Kimbisa. And I also want to say that this was timely and it's supposed to come earlier. But also, I will start my comments from what Honorable Susan said, my colleague, was there also on EALA 3. On the issue, she said that every partner state normally interprets the Section 4 the way they feel like, because it was actually left to them to do so. But I want members and Right Honorable Speaker to know that every partner state has also did not do the way they want in terms of Section 1A, which says that the treaty provides for 9 members elected by each partner state to form part of the membership of the Assembly. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this motion, but also by Honorable Kimbisa bringing this motion in the House will remind anybody who was talking about reducing the numbers of members of EALA that Section 1 is out clear there. Right Honorable Speaker, I'll be very brief, but there is now, it seems it's normal or it's norms that things are just discussed for none, even with not with the ministers. Some committees will sit and decide the fate, the privileges of members. So even though the ministers is not here, I hope I'm taking right clearly on the handset. That's why I speak loudly, even though I have a mic here, that whoever want to reduce the number of EALA members should come and read this law, which is Election Act 2012. And because this is a parliament, Nobody outside this parliament has the mandate to change anything regarding EALA members. If the Council of Ministers agree to whomever advise them to change this section, they should bring, council should bring the motion in this house. We debate, we conclude. Otherwise, no one has a mandate to change the numbers of EALA members from 9 to whichever number.
Information.
I'll receive information.
Who is asking to give information? Honorable Mukuria.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker Maria, for giving. Actually, Article 48 of the treaty says the membership of the assembly shall comprise 9 members elected by each partner state. So equally, the treaty talks about the membership. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Kennedy. So that's just all, because I want to say briefly, even though right now, the Speaker, you said we should not debate much, we will come and debate this. And I'm glad that this motion touched this section. So remember, when we are debating it, we should put the cement on this, because some members, some not members, some whoever sit outside and calculate that when you reduce EALA members, you save money, should also understand that this parliament is the only regional parliament that legislate law, which are come on top of the national parliament, national partner states law. So when even now we are 9, we expect with the membership increasing, we expect the numbers of members to increase. And now someone is like to come to talk to the ministers to go up to the summit to reduce the numbers of the members. As we are not meeting what we want to do. People are traveling 3 days into 5 partner states. I don't know how they do that. So, honorable members, I want to rest assure you, when we come for this, we shall demand whoever want to change this section must come and bring a motion here in the House. So we debate, we vote for it. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
All right, Honorable Mustamari.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on this motion and debate. I'll try as much as possible to be brief. I want to thank the Honorable Omar Kimbisa for sponsoring this amendment. I also want to thank Honorable Fancy for taking up the task to stand in for Honorable Kimbisa to have this motion. Honorable Speaker, I have basically 2 points to put here and to support this amendment. Honorable Speaker, one of the reasons is the litigations which have been against EALA since EALA 1, Honorable Speaker. I'll give you examples. EALA, apart from EALA 1, EALA 2, EALA 3, EALA 4 have never been sworn in, have not been sworn in on schedule because of litigations. And one other reason which is there is that this assembly cannot be inaugurated unless it's fully constituted. So if one partner state has not sent their delegates or representatives to the assembly, this house cannot be inaugurated. In 2006, when they were preparing to have EALA 2 sworn in, a citizen, an East African citizen, in the names of Professor Peter Anyang Anyong and 10 others went to court. They were disputing the election process in Kenya to send the delegates to the East African Legislative Assembly. That litigation consumed the time when the EALA 2 was supposed to be sworn in. And so the period was extended to about 6 months. So they were also not sworn in, the second EALA. We have another person, another citizen of East Africa, our only honorable Mukasa Mbide here. In 2011, he went to court when they were preparing to swear in the third assembly. He went to court disputing the election process in Uganda. That all of that how the way the elections were conducted was not in tandem with the rule with the treaty provisions of the treaty, and therefore the rules providing for elections of EALA members in Uganda were flawed. So he was disputing the rules back in Uganda, but it affected the assembly. So, and then lastly, the third one is our citizen also, I think it's called Santos from the Republic of South Sudan. Wani, yes, been corrected. One of our citizens called Wani, recently here in 2017, after the elections had been conducted in the Republic of South Sudan, he went to court, and it also led to fresh elections in the Republic of South Sudan. And then there were also delays to conduct elections by the Republic of Kenya because of the elections, the general elections that were taking place there. So all this, you'll find that it has led to interfere with the program of the assembly. And for that matter, this motion, as has been proposed to amend the Election Act, it is basically to expand the time, just like you guided the Honorable Speaker, is to expand the time from 90 days to, so far the proposal is 180 days, to allow member states enough time to prepare and conduct elections. And there's, just like you have noted, from EALA 1 up to EALA 4, we have had litigations. So that means we are not going to go with the litigation. But if we have enough time within which partner states conduct time, those who will go to courts, they will have enough time. And as you are aware, you cannot control the time of the court. But at least if they also have enough time to conduct their business, then we believe that on the scheduled date of inauguration of the House, the House will be able to be inaugurated right from Speaker. And lastly, I wanted to propose information.
Honorable Msamari.
Yeah, I can take the information. Thank you.
Honorable, please.
Thank you, Msamari. I just want to inform him that it was not only in Uganda and Kenya, also happened in Tanzania, where a citizen of East Africa challenged the election of EALA.
Thank you very much for that information. So lastly, Honorable Speaker, if I am supported and with your guidance, I wanted to move under Rule 27 to propose amendment to the motion. Yes, Honorable.
Can we amend at this stage? Because I think you can amend when the rule comes, when the bill comes. And also to be guided, a member advised me, sent me a memo. I know you were still on the floor, but wait a moment. A member was asking whether this kind of a discussion, at this stage, we don't refer to any committee, isn't it? Because we don't have the bill yet. So it is when the bill comes that it can be referred, right? Yes, yes. I think that's the position. We grant, like yesterday, let's talk about the case yesterday, because this one is not yet resolved. When a member asks for leave to introduce the bill, the House does not have the bill. We just hear the member grant leave and wait for the bill. And when the bill comes, it's when it gets referred to the appropriate committee. Yes, sir. Honorable Msamari, please conclude.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I don't have more to add because what I was supposed to say was to propose the amendment, but with your guidance, I beg to submit and support. Thank you, Honorable.
All right, thank you so much. Now, honorable members, I think I can put the question now. that this assembly pursuant to the provisions of article, hold on, the clerk. The mover must reply. In brief. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, maybe the council member has anything?
Well, because I didn't think it was mandatory to go in that order, and the council member is a member of the house. If they had wanted, they can intervene anytime. Okay, so on record, the council member doesn't think it is necessary to intervene now. Now you can reply in brief.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. First of all, I would like to thank all the members who supported the motion and contributed in affirmative to the motion. I would like to thank Honorable Kennedy Mukulia, Honorable Dennis Namara, Honorable Abdullah Makame, Honorable Susan Nakauchi, Honorable Mariam Usi Yahya, and Honorable Paul Musamali. Right Honorable Speaker, this motion is very important, as we have already mentioned in the motion when I was reading, and the member in their contribution, that to avoid the delay in constituting the EALA 5 and other EALAs to come, it is very important to extend the time so that we can have more time to conduct election. And in case anyone who's briefed can go to court and get the justice, and as well as the assembly can be constituted in time. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Now I think it's the right time to put the question. And the motion before the House is that this assembly, pursuant to the provisions of Article 59(1) of the treaty and Rule 64, Sub-Rule 5, of the rules of procedure of the assembly, do grant leave to Honorable Adam Kimbisa to introduce a private member's bill entitled the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Amendment Bill 2021. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. On my part, because one member said it would be better if this bill is processed sooner than later. On my part, I wouldn't have a problem as soon as the member is ready. And now, honorable members, something we overlooked in the commission when we were preparing the program, we overlooked the fact that Tuesday is EAC day. It is EAC day. And that being EAC day, we cannot sit. I wish this had come to our attention earlier. So we apologize for the inconvenience it will cause if there is. But we have to observe the EAC day, and therefore we will not have a sitting on Tuesday. Correct? Are we together on Tuesday? We won't have a plenary on Tuesday because it is EAC day. We will have the plenary the following day. Honorable Abdikadir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just knowing that the East African Parliamentary Games will be commencing soon, and EALA is the host institution for these particular games. I'm aware that to this moment, we do not have the resources in terms of budget available. If Tuesday is going to be a non-sitting day, and Monday is a day that council sits, when then will this House sit to consider that supplementary budget for the purpose of holding the East African Parliamentary Games? Because all our other parliaments are headed this way from towards the end of next week.
Yeah, but you mean we can sit on EAC day?
No, not at all. What does that mean? We will have another day for sitting? Or?
Yeah, yes, of course. When I adjourn, I will announce that.
Thank you.
I'm right with that. Because I think you have the program and you already know when we are going to end. So, honorable members, I will adjourn until Wednesday at 2:30. I said I will. I haven't adjourned it. And what it means is that this situation, it doesn't mean let me find a way to rephrase it properly. We have a very little time remaining for us to prepare for the games. So let us make sure that we participate fully in the preparations, including that day when we shall be celebrating EAC Day. Because if we go and practice on that day, we are involved in a community activity and we are spending the time wisely. So is it a better construction than if I had done this statement differently? Yes, you understand what I mean. So I had joined the house until Wednesday at 2:30.